Hello. These last 2 weeks I've been working extremely intensely, like working as hard as possible, doing maybe 7 sessions a day, each session about 40 minutes, and just trying to push through, the practices that I do. Each time I'm trying to take them well beyond how I was taught. And yesterday, Sunday morning, as I often do, I subtly changed the emphasis of some Qigong practices, and the whole energy body just opened up. I was quite shocked, and it's like I finally understood the whole purpose of that practice. Quite incredible. That's after like 6 years, almost daily. That's how long it takes, So there are secrets out there, but to be able to make the inner machinery do those special things, you have to have real fortitude. You have to really need it. That's the thing about Gurdjieff, and also I was reading Also yesterday I was reading a bit from the Bible, and these are not small matters, becoming a self-realized being or Christian. It's like evolving far, far away from what human beings think they are. It's not a small thing. There's not a book club. It's a quest. It's for very rare kind of people who have a yearning, an intelligence, a will. They have something, And then last night, I was in bed and I just quickly had a look at the Enneagram, and I was just sort of looking over it, and suddenly something jumped out at me from the Enneagram, and it was exactly like I had said. And I am convinced that nobody has understood the Enneagram. You see all these analyses by Ouspensky type people where they sort of they minutely go through the fractions and the gaps and the lateral octaves and all this crap, and they end up with these huge complex technical diagrams. It's not about that. You see, those people don't feel anything inside of them, and therefore they cannot validate anything. They can talk forever. It's like Maurice Nicole, because he had not actually been properly taught, and he had not been able to establish the tri-am as a cam node inside of his solar plexus. Because of that, he could never make any progress. So he kept talking and talking and talking, 6 fucking volumes long. That is the false self. The false self keeps lying to itself, telling itself, I'm about to get there, I'm about to get there, You're not about to get there, you're going nowhere. And the whole of human society is like that. They just keep talking and nothing is happening. There is no magic inside of them. Nothing is flowing through them. What they represent is the heptaparaparshinok, meaning that what has been created slowly circulates according to this sort of descending octave. And in so doing, it maintains itself. It arrests its deflation. Of course, it deflates, but that's how things function. Once they're created, they enter the heptaparaparshinok and very, very, very slowly wind down. That's what human beings human society is doing. There's very little rivers running through people these days. And when people used to go to church and they felt these higher emotions and saw these paintings and they reached to the sky and said, I believe, they were trying to reach a higher world, you know? Because in a way that's what it looks like, because you are trying to become a higher human being. And what does it look like? What would it look like? I mean, the people born today who are born in this stupid society with no art, where science is reduced to injections and plastic, they never really hope for anything more, you know. Anyway, as for Gurdjieff and his teaching, it's clear from what he said that he is waiting for somebody to arrive who can understand it, and that very few people are going to penetrate to the real teaching. Now, in the Meetings in Paris books, you can see how he taught. He helped people a lot. He put them on the right road. He stopped them doing terrible things to themselves and helped them. But as for his real teaching, meaning the teaching of the master for the adept students, I mean, that is described in his writings, but very few people mention it. Very few people mention it. Just like very few people mention their doing, meaning the real practical things that they have done, nor how they have advanced in their knowledge. People never talk about that stuff, do they? And when they talk about the law of 7 or law of 3, then they always use the same ridiculous examples that are given in the texts. You know, like bread, yeast and water, or flour, yeast and water. Because they have no examples of their own, you know. And Gurdjieff used to read out his chapters and watch people, you know. As for the Enneagram, I mean, I think he must have had a great laugh putting it together. There are many things hidden in there, like they are hidden in his books. Even not so well hidden, to be honest with you. But yet few people talk about those parts. I only know, in terms of some of the energetic experiments that are detailed, I only know one man who ever really attempted to perform them, and he did not even get very far with it. But he did manage to decode at least some of the instructions. So well done to him, but he didn't make anything of it, you know? Gurdjieff hoped that in the future somebody would understand. There are many things to understand from Gurdjieff, you know, there are many things. I'm sure many people get a lot of benefit from it. But the thing is, it's like a revelation. It's difficult to explain that when you do things, unusual and new things happen to you. So, you know, nobody can really tell you what you're going to discover down the river, because you actually have to travel down the river. And so, you know, all the books from Gurdjieff's students that detail their meetings with him are very useful for traveling along the river with Gurdjieff. But you have to do all the work, you know. Although I would say that Qigong, the way I have found some very good teachers, and it has some exceptional methods. For instance, methods of bone illumination. And yeah, in terms of the relationship between the numbers 12, 9 7, 5 and 3, it has many answers. It's also, in terms of the octave and the law of 3, it's interesting to really reconsider where we see these numbers in ordinary society and what the real meaning is. In other words, the rhythms and habits of people have a particular form that seems to be related to these ideas. And what is that form? What is that form? What is the meaning of it? So like by studying what's happening in society, maybe we can actually understand something more about these concepts, you see. But the thing is that I had a few revelations yesterday. It must be just from the consequences of working so intensely the last week. And so when I switched on the Enneagram last night, I was looking for something because I had already conjectured the relationship between the law of 7 and the law of 3. Quite interesting, really. And the thing is that because I already have a practice, I can insert into it new understandings and try things like, does that actually work? Do these things actually work in practice? That's the benefit of doing Qigong, because there's an actual practice. It's not just sitting around in a room with the intelligentsia, Oh, the other thing is that, Gurdjieff's teaching, his real teaching, is for very unusual people who are of a higher ilk. But there are two types of spiritual elites. There is, first of all, the spiritual elites who sit in cafes reading fancy books, and it is in them that the teaching is planted, and they keep it alive, and they buy the books and they promote it, and they have all these meetings and chats and all that. But they are not the ones who are going to reach the other side. It's like the tradition is planted in a certain subculture who have very big ideas of themselves, who want to be in the fourth and best way. Those are the people that keep the tradition alive. But the people who cross are of a very different ilk. Also, in terms of which students understood Gurdjieff best, one thing that I seem to recognize now is that people's many eyes actually reflect the culture and their genetics, meaning their ancestry. That's how I understand things. When Gurdjieff says that you're going to pay a price for your grandfather or something, how I understand it is that the many eyes are transferred to you from your ancestry. And so what you can understand is based upon the culture you come from. Therefore, you should probably stay with teachers from your own culture. I have an unusual ancestry, so I have access to several different types. But I think that's quite unusual. There are a lot of implications to that. So I'll just say it again, the many eyes that are inside you are not random, they actually come from your ancestry and from your culture. And it is a means for the storing of knowledge, of human knowledge that is created by nations, which also means that globalization is the destruction of vast amounts of human knowledge, which will probably signal very bad things.